everybody, this is Sean of Raw Select Music. Today I want to talk about this album right here. This is Carlos Nino and Friends' More Energy and Currents, released on a Chicago-based record label called International Anthem on May 7th, 2021. As a huge fan of Carlos Nino and Friends' music, I was super excited when I found out about this album, especially because it kind of slipped underneath my radar. So after finding out about it, picked it up, and listening to it a lot as of late, and today I wanted to share my thoughts and opinions of this record with you guys and let you know if it's worth checking out. So with that being said, let's talk about this guy. In an interview with Bandcamp in 2017, the insanely prolific DJ, producer, multi-instrumentalist Carlos Gabriel Nino said of his Carlos Nino and Friends project and its many collaborators that these are the people I'm closest with personally. They are my closest friends. They are on the record because of that, and because they are among my favorite musicians and people to collaborate with. Over the course of the project, he's collaborated with so many recognizable names like Madlib, Shaba Hutchins, Sam Gendel, Miguel Atwood Ferguson, and way too many more to list them all here. Since the project started in 2008, he's consistently released at least one album per year. For More Energy Current, the blurb describes the album on Bandcamp as follows. I'd say that's pretty accurate. In terms of critical reception, most seem pretty positive towards this release, with AllMusic giving it 3.5 stars out of 5 and Pitchfork giving it a 6.9 out of 10. So where do I stand in all of this? I'd say this is probably Carlos Nino and Friends' most accessible album to date, and that says a lot considering the type of music that they dabble in. If you've never heard a Carlos Nino and Friends album up until this point, it's this weird sort of hodgepodge of new age music, classical music, jazz music, ambient music, and music concrete sort of all mixed in together. Sometimes the elements are a little bit heavier on one side than the other, but in general, those are sort of the broad strokes that make up a Carlos Nino album. I think what separates this album from his previous work is that there's a much greater attention to melody on here. The first track on here, Please Wake Me Up a Little Faster, Please, is actually like one of the most melodically beautiful things that he's put out to date. And considering that a lot of Carlos Nino albums have a certain beautiful quality to them, this really does come as quite a shock that it's so melodically straightforward, but still retains the warmth, beauty, and ambiance that you would come to expect from a Carlos Nino record. Later on, the track Night Swimming dives into a little bit of ambient tinged beat music and is another album highlight for me. And a few other highlights include the earthy ambient swells of Thanking the Earth and Ripple's Reflection, as well as the more straightforward jazz sounds of Salon Winds. And what's really quite an amazing feat about this album, despite the nature of it being a sort of new agey, ambient, less rhythmically focused, less melodically focused record, I found this thing to be incredibly gripping all the way through. And not only that, I found it to be an extremely catchy and addictive record, one that I found myself going back to over and over again. And honestly, it's kind of become one of my favorite albums of the year. The synths on here are so warm and colorful. The other assorted instrumentation, be it saxophone, horns, flute, strings, some of the subtle percussion elements to it, all create this extremely unique and interesting musical environment. And I love the way that the sounds come together. The jazz stuff works really well. The ambient stuff works really well. And it's just overall an extremely relaxing listen that could very easily fall into wallpaper territory. Yet there's still a certain quality to this record that I find keeps it still an engaging listen. And maybe it has to do with the way the tracks sort of subtly shift, and rather than being sort of droney the way that a lot of ambient music is, it somehow avoids falling into that trap. And ultimately, I really don't have any complaints about this record. Aside from the second track on here, The World Stage, and some long address stress that I'm not going to even try to remember how to say in this video, is just kind of ho-hum compared to the other inspired moments on this record. And I know I'm going to eat my words on that, because then I'm going to go back and listen to it and realize that I actually really dig that song. Overall, I just absolutely love this record. It's been one of my favorite listening experiences of the year. It's definitely relaxing, it's definitely soothing, and it's definitely like a really cool record to just immerse yourself in. If you've never checked out any of Carlos Nino and Friends' projects, I highly recommend that you start with this one, because I think it's by far the most approachable of all of his stuff up until this point. Where some of his albums could get a little bit more experimental, this one finds a perfect balance between atmosphere and experimentation and melody. And I think that's why it's my favorite Carlos Nino record to date. So, as you can guess, highly recommend that you pick this guy up if you haven't listened to it yet. Hunt it down, buy it on Bandcamp, get it on vinyl if you want. The pressing on this is fantastic, and plus, you gotta love any record that comes with a gatefold. So yeah, totally dig this record. One of my favorites of the year. Don't sleep on this one. Easily one of the best records you're gonna hear this year. That's going to be it for me today, guys. Thanks as always for watching. If you've listened to this record for yourself, please let me know what you thought about it down in the comments. If you want to hear this record for yourself, please make sure you head over to my WordPress blog, because that's where I post music links to any of the records that I talk about on this channel. And make sure you head over to my Twitch page, because that's where I'm going to be doing the live streams for the time being. Same deal as always. You can hear records like the ones that I talk about in these videos, as well as a whole host of records that I have in my collection that I don't get a chance to talk about on this channel. Links to everything, as always, down in the description. But that's going to be it for me today, guys. Thanks as always for watching, and I will catch you in the next video. So until then, peace out!